Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? It's a long process. It's a hard, thought out process. Yeah, I know. I was there. I was there from March of this year, thinking about how I'm going to do this, doing all my research, trying to get everything right. What platforms can we use and how we going to record it and how we going to make it sound good and make it all this happen. And then I came upon Anchor. The Anchor app on my phone, the easiest choice I could ever make to do a podcast. It's free to use. You don't got to pay for nothing. You can record episodes whenever you're ready. You can edit it and then you can release them when you want to. And you don't have to worry about trying to figure out how you're going to distribute it on other platforms because Anchor has partnerships with Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Pocket Cast, whatever you name it. Because the Playmakerz Brand podcast is the podcast that I use. We're on all them platforms. We're on 9 platforms just by using the Anchor app. So pretty much all the questions that you have questions about doing a podcast, go to the Anchor app or go to the Anchor website, anchor.fm.com, and just search through it, ask questions. Because I tell you, a free app that does all this, there's nothing more you can ask for. I even got friends, they doing their podcast on the Anchor app. Faith Talk, you might have heard of it because it's very good. And it's great that it's an app like this, it's a website like this that makes it easier for people to do podcasts and do what they love best, talking about the things that they love to talk about. So give Anchor a try, see how much you like it. We'll love to hear your podcast.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bear of Texas. You may already know me as I am the host of the Bear of Texas podcast, but tonight I am representing my good friend Darnell's podcast. Let's start off by telling you folks how much an honor it is to be part of the Playmakerz blog. I want to give a shout out to Darnell. I am so grateful for you giving me the chance to work with you, and I will do my best to keep our fans entertained, and I'll do my best to give y'all something good to listen to. So the first thing I want to talk about as I make my debut, I want to talk about the San Antonio Spurs. Now, if y'all have listened to my podcast, the Bear of Texas podcast, y'all have noticed I've talked about my my hometown team, the Dallas Mavericks, a lot. So let me get it straight. Yes, I am a diehard supporter of the Dallas Mavericks. Now, although I am, being a sports writer, as many of y'all know, I am required to be very professional and objective, which means I cannot take sides, that I can't just trash talk the San Antonio Spurs just from a fan's perspective, because in a sports writing's perspective, I just have to say it like it is. So right now, I'm not going to say that the San Antonio Spurs suck, although from a fan's perspective, I would say that whether they're good or not. But the truth is right now, the San Antonio Spurs, they're a mediocre team and they're struggling. And I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, maybe I can just say, because, this is the post Tim Duncan, Anthony Parker, Manny Ginobili era, the post Kawhi Leonard era. Look, perhaps those are true. Knowing Greg Popovich, like we all know Greg Popovich, how great of a coach he is. It doesn't matter who's on. It doesn't really matter if those guys are gone, because as long as, many people have said over the years, as long as Greg Popovich is in charge, the San Antonio Spurs will be A-okay. I believe that. Of course, every now and then, there's going to be a bad season. Unfortunately, in the case of the San Antonio Spurs, right now they are sitting with a record of 24-33, and they are in last place in the Southwest Conference, and they are about 13 and a half games away, behind the first place Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets are currently sitting at 38-20, and then they're followed by the Dallas Mavericks, who are 36-24. But unfortunately, what really rubs salt to the wound in the case of the San Antonio Spurs is that they are on the verge of missing the playoffs for the first time, if I am correct, since the 1996-1997 season. And since then, they have been to the playoffs 22 straight years, and the last time they missed the playoffs during the 1996-97 season, the team finished with a 20-62 record. It's been a very successful 22-year period in that time. I mean, several NBA Finals. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 NBA titles during that time. Unfortunately, it could be said that the Spurs' glory days are officially over. But let's be honest, we're not entirely sure. I mean, perhaps it is, but you know what? This season they're just struggling. Maybe it's just one bad season. Now, if next year is another bad season or it gets worse, then perhaps it'll be safe to say that the San Antonio Spurs are officially, in rebuild mode. But you know what? Like I said, knowing Greg Popovich, he's been through this before, and I'm pretty damn sure he's gonna successfully get through it again. He's gonna build another team because we all know how successful Greg Popovich is. I mean, he's been the Spurs head coach for quite a long time. I mean, there's a reason why he's been there for so long, because he's great at coaching and he's great at building a team. Now, let's try to get into it, like exactly what's going on with the Spurs. Well, it's pretty obvious. First things first. I mean, they're obviously not winning enough games, but of course that's going to happen. But I think right now, I mean, to be honest, when people say they have no talent, I mean, that's honestly not true. I mean, there's the likes of DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge. There's still, Patty Mills, just to name a few. Unfortunately, there's the player. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. DeJounte Murray, who's been out with a torn ACL for quite a while. There's no telling when he'll come back. It seems like the Spurs are just. I'm gonna explain. They're a bit lost. Like, they don't know where they're going. They're perhaps under pressure, and they're not really sure how to, fight the pressure, how to be able to support it. So right now, it's just safe to say they're a little lost. They don't have their groove. They don't have their winning groove. They're missing it, and they're actually looking for it. But let's be honest. If the Spurs do miss the playoffs, I mean, like I said, it'll be the first time in about 22 years if they do. But if they do, then so be it. Because it happens. When a team has success for so long, and then all these legends, they retire, and then Kawhi Leonard, when the superstar is traded away, and then the team has to kind of like is put back at square one, they have to start over. They have to start a new rebuild mode. It's very understandable, and it's obvious they're going to go through struggles. Because look, let's be honest, struggles are part of the game. Every single dynasty in sports, the way they were built, it all started off with struggles and rough seasons. It's a process that goes into sports, and the Spurs are just beginning that process. So perhaps in a couple of years, if all goes well, the Spurs will actually be a very good team again. And I can honestly say, despite being Mavericks fans, they're going to be worthy of challenging for the title. At this point, it seems that is long gone. But you know what? Give it a couple of years, and the Spurs should be right back to where they are. Now, I'm going to talk something else about the Spurs. Their whole thing with the Dallas Mavericks this season. So far, they are 0-3 against the Mavericks. Now, from a perspective as a sports writer, I am actually a bit surprised that the Mavericks were able to beat the Spurs because, from what I've seen this season, last couple of seasons, there's been many games where the Dallas Mavericks start off strong, they go through the first three quarters strong, and then they suffer fourth quarter collapses because the Dallas Mavericks, they're a very young team, they're learning, and they too don't do very well under pressure. In fact, I can honestly say that the Dallas Mavericks are worse when they're under pressure. But you know what? The Mavericks have been in what the Spurs are going through right now. They've been through that. Even though the Mavericks are doing good this year, or they're doing better than they have last couple of years, they're still young. But apparently, perhaps it's safe to say, they're probably a couple of steps ahead. But the Spurs have a great coach, just like the Mavericks have a really good coach. But in the case of the Spurs, they're going through what every other team has gone through. I mean, let's look at the Lakers. What the Lakers have gone through before the arrival of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But they went through for 10 years. I mean, through the last years of the late Kobe Bryant, with all of his injuries and all these coaching changes. Just struggles and going everywhere. See, and that's my point out of everything, folks. It's gonna happen. So if the Spurs do go into a series of rough years, well, it's not that I'm going to say that I saw it coming. I can honestly just say that it's just simply part of the game. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the schedule of the Spurs as they're finishing out the season, because even though they're unlikely to make the playoffs, based on the history of the Spurs, we're talking about championship accomplishments. We're talking about so many good players, so many great moments. They're going to finish the season off. They're going to go down swinging. Because the Spurs are not one of those teams that's just going to give up and say, fuck it, we're just going to lose all the rest of the games. Because that is not the mentality that Greg Popovich puts on his team. So whatever the reason, the Spurs just have to go out and finish, and then just focus on the next season. Because honestly, when it comes to tanking, even though sometimes tanking may be necessary because they get that draft pick, tanking kind of destroys momentum. And in my opinion, when a team tanks and doesn't really care, it's like they don't care anymore. And that means the passion, the motivation, the dedication, the desire of playing sublime and unique basketball, it's all gone. And those are things that really destroy a team. I mean, to say that it destroys a team is a major understatement. So I'm looking at the season tonight, the Dallas Mavericks, today is February 29th, they'll play the Magic today. It seems like they'll be playing at home. At home. Well, okay, yes, yeah. It'll be Magic at home, and then followed by the Indiana Pacers will be at home, and then they'll have to travel to Charlotte to take on the Hornets. It looks as though their upcoming games are the next 4 games are definitely winnable. They'll be playing the Hornets, and then the Brooklyn Nets, and then the Cleveland Cavaliers. They'll be playing the Nets and the Cavaliers on the road, followed by another home game against the Dallas Mavericks, which is going to be the final game between the two. In this case, if the Spurs can beat the Mavericks, that's going to be a bit of pride, because between the rivalry between the Mavericks and the Spurs just cannot allow the Mavericks to sweep them in a season series. Even though at the end of the day, it's really not going to mean much because the Mavericks, and what's on their mind is the Mavericks really want to go to the playoffs. And the Spurs, and like I said, the Spurs just want to finish hard, just want to fight hard. They just want to have some pride, and because pride is really going to help them going into the next season. And after that, they have to play the Nuggets, which is going to be terrible. And then they're followed by a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, followed by the Grizzlies, and then after that, going to New Orleans, and then Chicago will be in town. So what I'm saying is, the rest of the season is sure a hell of a challenge, but knowing the San Antonio Spurs, a challenge is what they're so hungry for. It's what motivates them. It's what they really love. They love playing, especially when they are challenged. But right now, despite all the talent, I mean, there's some injuries and all those things that's going on. There's not too much negativity because despite the struggles, I've seen the San Antonio Spurs put some hard effort into their game, and they're doing their best. It's unfortunate in their case that they come up short, but you know what? You can't win them all. And from what I've seen, that game against the Mavericks, the last one, the Mavericks dominated most of the game. And then I saw the San Antonio Spurs show such unique resiliency. They never gave up. They said, you know what? I mean, all of a sudden, and this is what I was saying earlier, how the Mavericks are, there's a lot of games that they were just unable to finish. The Spurs made an example out of that. Although unfortunately in the Spurs case, the Mavericks were able to somehow pick it back up and win the game. But you have to give credit to the San Antonio Spurs because of that unique mentality of never giving up. They said, this is our house. If the Mavericks want to beat us at home, we're not going to give them the win. We're going to make them earn it. Now, the Spurs were actually pretty close to winning the game. Unfortunately, I didn't actually watch that game. I did follow it. I think it was a couple of missed shots, and the Mavericks defense would rebound. That game actually against the Spurs, it was a game where Luka, Doncic, and Kristaps Porzingis had a great game in the Mavericks. They had a good game for the Mavericks side, and they really, believe it or not, they really gave the Spurs crowd really something to actually be impressed about. Although I really doubt that the Spurs fans are really going to cheer for the likes of Luka Doncic and Kristaps. They probably will out of respect, but despite the rivalry, it seems like it's a great thing to see Texas teams really fight hard and really earn their ability to succeed. But overall, let me answer the question for once. So what is going on with the Spurs? Well, look, it's quite simple. The San Antonio Spurs are going through some rough times, but it's not that it's just expected. It's the fact that, like I said, every team goes through it. But in the case of Greg Popovich, like I've said earlier, he's a great coach. People who know basketball well know damn well how great of a coach Greg Popovich is. He's been through this situation before. He knows what it takes. He knows how to build a team. He knows how to get through the rough times. And I am more than 100% confident that in a few years' time, the San Antonio Spurs will indeed once again be a great team, and eventually they will once again challenge for the NBA title. But at this point, they gotta keep going with some young guys. They need Dejounte. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing. I'm sorry. They need Murray to come back healthy. Of course, as soon as he gets healthy, they're gonna have to build him back up. They're gonna have to. He probably won't be able to start some games. I mean, I would put him some for a few minutes, just for him to shake off some rust. Because in his case, the last thing the Mavericks need, the last thing the Spurs need is for him to get hurt again. I mean, injury aggravations, and in any team is something that's the last thing they avoid. An injury aggravation is something that any team needs to avoid. I mean, especially the Mavericks, the whole thing with Kristaps Porzingis. So, well, that sort of wraps up the San Antonio Spurs talk. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Do not go anywhere.
Hey, this is Donnie, the Playmakerz. I want to take a moment to thank you guys for listening to us at the Playmakerz Brand podcast. Just to let you know, if you're listening to us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, why don't you go ahead and leave us a review. Tell us what you think of the episodes that you listen to, what you think of the podcast in general. If you listen to, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Castbox, or any other platforms that we're on, follow us. Download the episodes, let us know any kind of way that you want to let us know, whether it's on our Facebook page, the Playmakerz Blog Podcast, or on our Twitter page at Playmakerz Stuff. Just let us know, because we enjoy interacting with you guys and we want to show our appreciation. So follow us, like us, let us know how we're doing, and thank you for listening to the Playmakerz Blog Podcast.
And I am back. Let me once again introduce myself, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Bear of Texas. My next subject on tonight's NBA basketball talk is the importance of a dynamic duo. And I'm not talking about any dynamic duo. I am talking about a dynamic duo that is only just getting started, with two players who are not even in their primes yet they are amazing. I am talking about the duo of Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. Now, in the previous part of this episode, when I was talking about the San Antonio Spurs, I mentioned how much of a diehard Dallas Mavericks fan I am. And I can't tell you how excited I am for the future success of both Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. Now, as I mentioned before, if you listen to my latest episode on the Bear of Texas podcast, I mentioned how much Luka Doncic is special to you, not just as a Mavericks fan, but as a sports writer too. Now, if you want to know what I said, please check it out. The episode was published last night. It's available on Spotify. Just go on Spotify and look for the Bear of Texas podcast. You can't miss it. Believe me, you will love that episode. Now, just how important is it? Well, it's pretty damn important, to be honest, because I know that the dynamic duo of Luka and Kristaps is going to help the Mavericks reach championship gold again. I am confident. I'm gonna exaggerate. I am 500% confident that those two are going to bring at least 3 titles to the Dallas Mavericks. Now, perhaps I'm being arrogant, or maybe I'm just dreaming, but you know what? I could be right, I could be wrong. But one thing's for sure is I know that these two are going to do great things together. And the best part is that they are just getting started. Now, both guys are young. Luka just turned 21, and Kristaps is still, in his mid-20s. I mean, these guys are still young. I mean, these two still have a hell of a career ahead of them. Because it's like I just said, these two guys are just getting started. I want to take a look at some of their statistics on how they're doing. Now, right now, Kristaps Porzingis averages close to 19 points a game with 9 rebounds and 2 assists. Luka, on the other hand, averages close to 29 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. As we know, if you've seen the games of Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic almost registers a triple-double in every single game. Now, of course, he's not going to do that every single game, but I swear to God, in the performances I've seen, in the results that I've seen, everything I've seen from Luka, many nights he has come extremely close to having a triple-double. Just imagine, folks. Just imagine if he had gotten them in every single game. Would not be able to tell you how many triples he has this season, but I can damn sure tell you that it would be a hell of a record that will not be broken for at least 50 years. And no, this is not an exaggeration. This is just pure common sense. Because if you've seen Luka, you've watched Luka play, you can just see that he is so phenomenally unbelievable. I mean, it's like I say this in my newest on the Bear of Texas podcast on my episode of Luka. Luka is one of those guys who's a super rare, unique talent. Because I have vowed several times, including on that episode, that there will never ever be a guy like Luka Doncic. Now, let me go ahead and explain why. I'm seeing some different articles right here. I'm gonna explain, like, see these articles from which I agree with on why Luka and Kristaps could be a dream fit. Now, according to this guy on Bleacher Report, by the name of Jonathan Wasserman, the pair, setting the pair of Luka, I mean, it cost the Mavericks a lot. I mean, in order to get Trae Young, I mean, the Mavericks had to, I'm not exactly sure how that. I don't remember, but I know how expensive the acquiring of Kristaps Porzingis was. I mean, if I remember correct, it was 3 first-round picks. It was Dennis Smith Jr. It was DeAndre Jordan. I think it was Wesley Matthews. I think as well. On my episode, I wasn't sure, but if you have listened to it, you'll notice that I got confused on that part. But I did some research, and I believe, if I remember correctly, it was Wesley Matthews. But you know what? Aside from that, like, the acquiring of Tim Hardaway. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. I mean, this is a little off subject, but Tim Hardaway Jr. has really been making a name for himself lately. I mean, just like Luka and Kristaps. I mean, aside from those two, Tim Hardaway Jr. is definitely a name to talk about. But this is about Luka and Kristaps, so I'm going to go ahead and stick to that. All right. Now, the man game between those two. I mean, these guys, special feel and skill set in these situations. Luka is known for the pick and roll ball and handling possessions. Okay. Now, I've noticed lately that Kristaps Porzingis has been putting up better numbers, and that's because he's been playing as a center. Now, if he's since he's truly excelling as a center, if I were Rick Carlisle, I would keep him at center because we need Kristaps Porzingis to play at a position where he's not only comfortable, but a position where he plays great and he can keep keep being passionate for the game. We need Kristaps to be comfortable. We need both Luka and Kristaps to be comfortable. We need them to be in positions where they excel because that's how the Dallas Mavericks are going to succeed with those two working well together. Now, aside from the fact that they're both super talented, see, we all know Luka Doncic is known for his ability to drive, the ball handling moves, the speed, the strength of play, just like this sports writer explains. That's just that's Luka's doing. He converts just about 50% of his overall field goal attempts. Luka's obviously not making every single one of his shot. I mean, he's not perfect. I mean, nobody is. But the post up now how you explain the Kristaps Porzingis is known for the post ups this season, and see the bottom line is I don't want to quote too much of the sports writers because I gotta I'm gonna give you guys what I see is that Luka does his part and Kristaps does his part, and they're both very good at it. So that's one of the reasons why the dynamic duo of these two is super important, and that is why it's going to work out quite well because these guys are comfortable with what they are, and they are playing great. Now, aside from that is Luka and Doncic. Luka and Kristaps. They've known each other for quite a while. I mean, let's go back. I mean, these guys, played in Europe. I mean, Luka playing for Real Madrid, Kristaps playing for Seville. Now, obviously, Kristaps arrived in the NBA a couple of years before Luka did. But the bottom line is they've known each other for so long. And the fact that they know each other, they know each other very well. They know how each other plays. I mean, it's kind of like saying they got each other figured out. Like they know what each other's capable of, and the fact that they trust one another, that's the best part. Because when it comes to having a super dynamic duo, one of the most important aspects to that kind of success is trust. If they trust each other, then you know what? It's a positive vibe, and that's what the Dallas Mavericks need. A super positive vibe and trust between two of their young star players. And seeing that, and knowing how these two succeed, I feel like it's only gonna get better. Now, lately, as I mentioned, Porzingis has gotten much better. You see, this season on Kristaps Porzingis, in Kristaps Porzingis' case, this season, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't expect him to be super dominant because this is his first season back from a nasty torn ACL. I expected this season for him, I expect him to have some starts every now and then. He's actually been playing a whole lot more than I expected. But you know what, man? I can honestly say, man, Kristaps Porzingis looks better than ever. He looks much better than he did with the Knicks because he's in an environment where he's happy. I mean, I didn't pay too much attention with him with the Knicks. I mean, I can't say for sure that he was super unhappy or that he didn't like being there. But we also remember from the fact we all remember the news. I mean, he was in a meeting with I think it was the Knicks front office, and then he demanded a trade. I think it was as soon as the meeting ended, he just demanded to be traded, and then a couple hours later, that he was sent to the Dallas Mavericks. Um, but Kristaps has really actually been doing great, and I'm actually amazed. I mean, I'm eating my words as far as Kristaps is concerned because I just didn't envision Kristaps being as good as he's doing right now. So I'm glad that I was wrong. Now I'm gonna go as I wrap up this part of the podcast. Here's something very important: the fact that Luka and Kristaps are dominant with. 2 days ago, a sports writer for Fansided's The Smoking Cuban, he mentions how Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis are both in the top 5 in player efficiency rating for the month of February. Now, as I look at it, Nikola Jokic, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is number 1, and then followed by James Harden, and then Luka and Kristaps are both at number 4. Luka is at 30.3, while Kristaps is 30.2. You see, and honestly, and here's why. I mean, I'm not even surprised because it's like I said, these guys trust each other so well, and that's why they play so well with each other. I mean, it's like I said, they trust each other, and they both have great skills. So you have two players playing great together. So it's no surprise that they're just dominating as a duo. I mean, are you surprised? I mean, if you're surprised, then where have you been? Have you been watching those two? Well, if you haven't, I mean, you don't know what you've been missing out on. So I would advise you, start watching Luka and Kristaps because those two guys. I mean, every time Luka steps on the court, I mean, he just puts his all out there. I mean, he just makes you want to stand up, and just give a cheer. You just want to tell him, Luka, take a bow, because Luka is one of those guys that just goes out there every night and puts on a hell of a show. And Kristaps Porzingis has been doing that. Also been doing that lately. The dynamic duo. I mean, the potential, the talent, the mentality, the chemistry between those two. It's finally starting to flourish, and I think it's only gonna get better. I'm gonna go and take another break. Stay tuned. Please don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back, and once again, I am the Bear of Texas. My final subject of the night is about the NBA playoffs. First off, let me point out and say that much like baseball, I prefer the NBA playoffs rather than the regular season. Even though it's completely different. I mean, you know how most people like the baseball playoffs better than the regular season. For me, it's also the same thing in basketball. Although I'll admit I enjoy the regular season of basketball a lot, but the playoffs, I just can't tell you how much different it is in my opinion. I mean, it's not just me. It's clearly in everyone's opinion because it's clear that the NBA playoffs is much different than the regular season because it's in the playoffs where the true competition starts. The real fighting among basketball teams start. That's where you really step on the court and you fight like until you can't fight no more. You fight your heart out. You fight your soul out. Every fiber in your vein. These players sacrifice, they scratch, they claw, because every single team that qualifies for the NBA playoffs, there's only one thing that they all want, and that is the NBA championship. And those teams, especially the ones with the true potential and the talent, and especially the teams with all the necessary essentials. Basically, what I'm trying to say is all those teams that have exactly what it takes to win the title, they will stop at nothing. They will fight to the end, because every single game of the playoffs matters. Game 1 matters as well, because you know what? The winner of Game 1, because you know what? The thing is with the Game 1, just even though winning Game 1, the whole thing can change in the blink of an eye, because a team can win Game 1, and then they could lose 4 straight. What I love about the NBA playoffs, folks, is that you never know what's going to happen. A team that is poised and has the potential to win the series, they end up losing, and there's even a point where they could even be swept. That's what I love about the playoffs, because we are in for so many unexpected surprises. And that's what makes the NBA playoffs so special. Surprises. Let me go ahead and start. And here's something so interesting that I found. This is according to the website Heat Nation. J.R. Smith is predicting the Miami Heat is going to meet the Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA Finals. Now, I'm sure that would be a hell of a series. However, I really don't think that's going to happen. Now, I do believe that the Lakers truly have the potential of making it to the finals. And same thing with the Heat. Oh, the Heat's definitely going to go to the playoffs. Now, as far as the finals, well, I'm not entirely sure. But what's so interesting when it comes to the teams in Los Angeles, both the Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers are absolutely dominant. So imagine this, folks. I mean, this is likely to happen. The Lakers versus the Clippers. I mean, I don't know what round it's going to be. I mean, it's very unlikely to be the first round. But if this was the final round, the winner goes to the finals. Imagine how exciting that would be. See, and once again, my point. This is these scenarios like this. That's what makes the NBA playoffs super exciting compared to the regular season. Because a matchup between the LA Clippers and the LA Lakers would just take the world by storm. Kawhi Leonard versus LeBron James. I mean, a true battle of Los Angeles right there. The battle for supremacy, the battle for bragging rights. I mean, aside from all those teams, like I said, there's just one thing, and one thing only that's on their mind, and that is the NBA title. Now, as far as personally, I don't have a primary prediction for the finals. I do have like some potential matchups. One of them, in my opinion, could be the Lakers versus the Celtics, in a matchup between Jason Tatum and LeBron James. That would be very, very, very interesting, in my opinion. I mean, a classic rivalry in the NBA Finals again. Although the truth be told, I mean, now as far as who would come out on top, well, I don't know who would come out on top, because in my opinion, folks, as a sports writer, I have a very special and unique saying, and it goes kind of like this: never, and I mean never, ever, ever make predictions that you cannot back up. And since I am not entirely sure why the Celtics could win it, I'm not going to explain why. And same thing with the Lakers. I mean, they both have talent. They're both great teams, but it takes more than that to explain why a certain one of those teams is capable of winning the title. But if this does happen, if the Lakers and the Celtics do make the finals, here's a prediction that is true. You can expect this series to be so hard fought, both teams would fight tooth and nail, and I can guarantee that just like last time those two teams met in the NBA Finals, this is going to go down to one game. Game 7, the most crucial. And that is another thing that makes the NBA playoffs so exciting, because when it comes to one more game, that's where it's truly entertaining and most exciting. In my opinion, folks, series that ends early, honestly, I feel like if it's in the first round, okay, maybe I can get over it easily. But when it comes to, in the second round and the third round, when it really, really gets more tense, more exciting, I mean, those series, you really want them to go to 7 games. So that's one, Lakers versus the Celtics. Now, another one, I think, in my opinion, I think I could see the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Los Angeles Lakers or the Clippers. I think the Bucks truly have what it takes to go to the finals. As far as Giannis, well, Giannis, I mean, he's great. I mean, I don't have to explain anything when it comes to Giannis because, for all you basketball fans out there that watch Giannis, I mean, what he does on the court, the way he plays, I mean, himself, the name Giannis Antetokounmpo, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. For those of you who know him very well, you know the fact is, when it comes to him, his character profile, his skills, they all speak for themselves. However, the question is, can they all can the Bucks just play all as a team and succeed as a team? Because we all know Giannis cannot carry the team all by himself into the final. Remember last year? We all remember last year. That very interesting series against the Raptors. I'm not sure if it was the series that went to the final. I mean, my head's kind of spinning right now. I'm having a little bit of difficulty, retaining so much information. But promise you, folks, I'm doing my best. But this prediction right here, the Bucks versus the Lakers, or that would be something really wild, or especially against the Clippers. I mean, the world would love to see a final between Kawhi and Giannis. That's about it. Now I want to spend a little bit of time speaking about the Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazz. Both teams are truly have so much potential, but do I see them going to the final? Well, I really don't want to say no. I mean, because like I said, I'm not sure, and don't make predictions that you can't back up. So as far as them going to the final, I don't know if it's going to happen, but what I do know is those teams have the potential of making a strong impact in the playoffs. Like, I know the Jazz and the Nuggets are actually really going to do quite well. Let me go ahead and take a look. Pulling up right now, I'm going to take a look at the Denver Nuggets record. And they're second in the West Conference, which is great. With a record of 40-19. So you know what? I take that back because you know what? I'll be honest, folks. I actually forgot the record off the top of my head. I do actually think the Nuggets truly actually do have the potential of making the finals. So I apologize about that. The Nuggets, the way they roll, I mean, the way they're just on the court, I mean, it's just magic. Now the Jazz are sitting with 37-22. Now that's probably what I should say. I think the Jazz can possibly, they're going to make the playoffs and then maybe perhaps make it past the first round. As far as who they play, I would not be sure. Now I want to talk about my Dallas Mavericks. Now my Dallas Mavericks, they're 36-24. They're 7th in the Western Conference. They're actually having the best years in so long. They're actually winning games, but as I mentioned earlier, they're still struggling with some pressure. They're not finishing what they started because they're such a young team, and they're still trying to. They found the groove, but the problem is sometimes they lose and they immediately find it. So the Dallas Mavericks, they need to dig deep inside themselves, find that winning groove, and keep it. I think because as far as the Mavericks go, I do know they'll make the playoffs, but do I think they'll win the series? A series, I should say. I don't think so, because like I said, they're young and they're going to be under so much pressure. The pressure could be too much for them. I mean, all the pressure that's going to be on their back, it could be too much for them because again, they're young. However, on a positive note, them losing if they lose a series, like 4 games to lose it in 7 games, I mean, that's definitely going to be something impressive. I mean, the Mavericks, truly challenged. So I can honestly tell you that the Mavericks are certainly capable of doing something in the playoffs, but it's not going to be about whether they make it past the first round or not. It's about how they do in the first round. Now, if they get swept, that's definitely not going to be good. Or if they lose in 5 games, that won't be good either. So in my opinion, if the Mavericks come up short, but in 7 games, that's actually a direction forward because they're this close. It's just at the end, they just can't seem to finish it. So going to the next season, one of the things they have to work on during the offseason is the ability to finish what they started. Finish the game. step on the court, not win each time, but when you're winning, get the job done. Now, taking a look right here, all these teams are here with the potential. Now, I'm looking right here, looking at a sports website that was written by a sports writer by the name of Nick Schwartz on USA Today Sports. Looks like right here, in his view, NBA playoff matches as of the 27th of February, it could be, the Milwaukee Bucks as the number 1 seed versus the 8 seed Magic. That's definitely something I could see. Or the number 2, the Raptors versus the Nets, the Celtics versus the Pacers, and the Heat versus 76ers. That's something really interesting right there. The Miami Heat and the 76ers. I'll be personally, I mean, Jimmy Butler is really going to have to, alongside his team. I mean, the Heat, I don't want to kind of having a difficult time talking, but I think the Heat and the 76ers is really interesting. And I think the Heat can actually the Heat will have the potential of pulling off an upset and sending Joel Embiid and company home early. Now I was looking at the playoff contenders in the East. The Lakers are the number 1 seed in the East, obviously, so it makes sense. He has this gentleman has the Bucks as the number 1 seed, and the Toronto and then as the number 2. Now as I look at the East, we could see the number 1 Lakers versus the 8 Grizzlies. Now we see the Nuggets versus the Mavericks. Now that actually makes sense. Now if it does come to that, that's why, as I was saying, if the Mavericks make it, force the series into 7 games, if they come up short, that's going to be showing that they challenged, but at the end of the day, the pressure was just too much for them, and they just couldn't finish. But looking at this, the Nuggets and Mavericks, that's definitely realistic. I could definitely see something like that, but that's assuming the Mavericks. Now, if the Mavericks continue to win, if they finish the season strong with a better winning record, and they continue to win like with a much better with a higher record, if they could manage to win in the range of 50 to 55 games, it's definitely going to be it's going to be a different scenario because they won't be the 7th seed. They'll probably be maybe 5th or 4th if they manage to win their conference, the Southwest Conference, and over the Houston Rockets. I mean, that's definitely going to be huge because the Mavericks, their odds of making it past the first round will go up. They'll have more confidence. They'll be motivated. And above all else, they'll be super hungry for a challenge. I mean, the likes of Luka, Doncic, and Kristaps Porzingis, I mean, this is their time in the playoffs. This is their time to shine. And we know those guys, they will not let such an opportunity go to waste. I'm going to move on and look at this one. And this gentleman also has the Clippers as the number 3 seed versus the number 6 Jazz. Well, that's definitely very interesting. I think the Clippers, in my opinion, at this stage, the Clippers would win in 6 games. And he has the Rockets and the Thunder. I think I see the Rockets possibly winning in 5 games. Go back. So now Nuggets and Mavericks, I'm hoping at the very least it could be 4 games to 2. Nuggets winning 4 games to 2 or in 7 games. If the Mavericks were to somehow pull it off, I don't think it would be anything different than in 7 games because the Mavericks are going to be under so much pressure. But the question is, will they be able to handle that kind of pressure? And right now, I really don't know if they can because we've seen the Mavericks crumble under pressure. Now, the number one seed, the Lakers versus the 8th seed Grizzlies. Oh, I think the Lakers should just win in a clean sweep. Now, head back to the East. Now, the Heat versus the 76ers. My mind wasn't really straight when I was talking about this, but I really would love to see the matchup between Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid. Now this gentleman, he has it as the Heat as the 4th seed versus the 5th seed 76ers. I would be shocked if the Heat managed to win in 5 games. I'll actually be pretty shocked because I see this more going into 6 games. I think both teams are capable of winning in 6 games. Of course, it will be much more entertaining because those series that go into 7 games. I mean, you don't expect there's no expectations. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you're in for one hell of a surprise. So this is one of those series where I would love it for it to go into 7 games. So go back up to Celtics versus Pacers. Well, knowing the Celtics, knowing how good they are, I think I see the Celtics. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they do manage to sweep the Pacers. I won't be too surprised, but I see more like 4 games to 1, 5 games. The Raptors versus the Nets, I see it the same way. I think I see the Raptors winning it in 5 games. And finally, we see the Milwaukee Bucks versus the 8th seed Magic. Well, if this does happen, I'm sure Darnell will probably hate me for saying this, but I see the Bucks sweeping the Magic. I mean, right now there's no guarantee if the Magic does make the playoffs. I mean, if they do, I'm sure the obviously the odds will not be in their favor. But the Magic, it's been a long time since the Magic have been in the playoffs, so it would really be like mean a lot for them if they make it back and make the most of it. Even though it's going to be one hell of a challenge, but the Magic like to be challenged, and they really want to earn the way around. So, but I'm gonna have to stick by to what I say. I think if it comes to this, the Bucks will sweep the Magic. But keep in mind, this is I'm reading this. I'm kind of giving my opinion based off what a certain sports writer how he has it seen. So I'm kind of seeing it from my perspective, but from his as well. But going back to how J.R. Smith is predicting the Miami Heat will meet the Los Angeles Lakers, I think at the end of the day, like I said, you just don't know what's going to happen. All these many people have their expectations, but for me, I don't really have expectations because in the playoffs we've seen so many upsets, so many shocking results that I just sit back and I just watch and see what happens because that's all I can do. Now, going back to my Mavericks, the last time my Mavericks went to the NBA playoffs was in 2016. I mean, ever since the Mavericks won the championship back in 2011, I mean, things have just been rough. I mean, all these losing seasons, coming up. I mean, a few times went to the playoffs. I mean, I'll never forget how in the 2013-2014 season, how the Mavericks, slipped into the playoffs, and then we had that amazing first round meeting with the Spurs, and we almost got in game 1, but I remember the Mavericks blew a 10-point lead with 2 minutes left, and I was like, oh fuck. That's the end of it. I mean, I'll be surprised if the Mavericks even win one game. But the Mavericks managed to make it 7 games. I don't know if we all remember that game when Vince Carter hit that last second 3-point shot to I think it was to win game 3 or 4. But whatever it was, it just kept the Mavericks alive, and that's one of the many things I'm talking about. Like all of a sudden you just see something that's totally unexpected. So that's why I feel like it's just better to go in with no expectations. Now, take a moment as I begin to wrap this up. Who are my true favorites to win the title? Well, number one is the Lakers because the Lakers have just been dominant. So I think the Lakers, what they've gone through the last 10 years since their last title win, I mean it's been disastrous. All those losing seasons, the final years of the late Kobe Bryant with all the injuries he was suffering. Several players I remember Steve Nash came in, but that didn't work out. Just so many different things. I mean, the Lakers were trying so many things, nothing seemed to work. But I think those days are right. I think the Lakers are about to go back to their successful ways. I think they're about to eclipse the era of the Golden State Warriors. So I think the Lakers era might be coming back. Not unless, of course, the Clippers have something to say about it, because the Clippers, well, they're certainly worthy of challenging for the title too. I mean, with Kawhi Leonard, so to speak, along with several other players. Taking a look right here. Well, the likes of Paul George, Lou Williams, and I apologize, guys. My head is just spinning, so I'm not able to think straight. But it's not just certainly these players. I mean, it's just the mentality and the way the Clippers play. And like I said, I mean, I really want to see the Lakers and the Clippers cross paths in the playoffs, because I feel like the winner out of those two, Okay, you know what? Here's the prediction, folks. If the Clippers and the Lakers, when they meet in the playoffs, the winner out of those two, the winner goes to the NBA Finals. You can mark my words on that. Now, the Nuggets also, I think the Nuggets, like I said, they have the potential. We'll just have to see how things go. But again, one more time, no expectations. The Houston Rockets, well, for so many years now, the Houston Rockets have really they've come close. They've been close, but it's the pressure. I mean, it's the pressure that really kills them, because from what we've seen, like the struggles, James Harden, he dominates, but then he starts to have a little bit of struggles. I mean, the whole team starts to struggle. It just comes to the point like they feel like we'll be fine, we got this, and then all of a sudden things just don't go their way, everything falls apart, and then all of a sudden it's like it's almost like they're just throwing the towel because the pressure is too much for them. As far as this happening this year to the Rockets, well, perhaps it's inevitable, but I just expect the Rockets to do what they do best and just get in the playoffs. Probably make it past the first round, and then after that probably ends for them. But like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. Now I think now as far as the Raptors go, I'm going to talk about the Raptors right here. I'm not too surprised that even though they lost Kawhi Leonard, that they're still good. Number one, they have a really good coach. Okay. And number two, all the other players that they have, I mean, okay, so they lost Kawhi Leonard, but they still have the likes of Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka, Fred VanVleet, and there's Chris Boucher, Marc Gasol, to name a few. I mean, kind of remembering these names off the top because I remember watching the game against how the Raptors, losing back to the Mavericks and then they come back and I'm like, ugh, it's making me sick to my stomach talking about it right now. But that's another thing right there, the resiliency. The Mavericks were up, I think it was by at least 30 points in the fourth quarter, and bam, the Raptors just come right out of nowhere and then they come back and win the game. That kind of resiliency is going to help them in the playoffs. I mean, don't be surprised. See, that resiliency is so unique. Like, imagine if the Raptors are down 2-0 in a series in the playoffs, and they come back and win. I mean, imagine that they're down 0-3 and they come back and win 4 straight. That's what I'm saying. The Raptors are dangerous because of their resiliency. So that's what makes them. Aside from the talent and their playing ability and the coaching, the resiliency, and the chemistry and the mentality. Well, those are three amazing weapons, and the Raptors know how to use them very well. Now again, I think the Bucks and the Celtics both perfectly capable of making the final and winning it all. But as far as the Bucks go, I just hope that as long as they win as a team, you play as a team. I mean, Giannis can't do it all by himself, so they'll need everybody to do their part. So, but I do know but I'm pretty confident the Bucks. The Bucks were first in the Eastern Conference with a very amazing record of 51-8, followed by the 42-17 Raptors, and then the 41-18 Celtics. Those top three, I mean, those three, I mean, excuse me, I'm just having a hard time speaking there. I sincerely apologize. 51-8 Bucks, 42-17 Raptors, and 41-18 Celtics. Another reason why the NBA this year's NBA playoffs will be super exciting, because you have three great, amazing teams. I'm looking at the Eastern Conference, and I'm looking at the Western Conference, and we see the Lakers are 45-13, followed by the Nuggets and the Clippers currently are 40-19 with similar records. It's a tie for second. And you have the Rockets and the Jazz right after that, and the Mavericks are. Then there's the Thunder and Mavericks down there. But from what I've seen, I think the East possibly has the advantage. So, as I wrap this up, folks, and I kind of apologize for the making things sound a little weird. I'm just having a very difficult night, doing a lot of research. I think the final is going to be. Okay, here's two predictions for the finals. I think it's going to be it's going to be Milwaukee versus the Lakers, or Milwaukee versus the Clippers, or if Toronto makes it back, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I have the Lakers making it all the way. So I think on the Western Conference, I think it's going to be the Lakers, and I think it could be either the Lakers versus the Bucks, or Lakers versus the Raptors. And imagine that if the Raptors make it back to the playoffs, and if they manage to win, I've got you one better. Here's a very special prediction I'm going to make: the Raptors versus the Clippers. That would really take the world by storm. The Raptors, imagine if they win the NBA title for the second time in a row, and they beat Kawhi Leonard in doing so. Imagine the headlines. Imagine the stories. Imagine the reaction. Imagine the excitement. You see, folks, for my point out of everything right here, do not have expectations. Expect the unexpected. Expect surprises. That overall, my point from the question earlier, why the NBA playoffs are so amazing and why it's more exciting than the regular season. Because you're in for a hell of a show. Well, I'm done for tonight. Thank you all very, very much for listening. For all the hiccups, I sincerely apologize. Darnell, thank you once again for the opportunity. And folks, I will see y'all next time. Goodbye.